Hello everybody, Mr. Pilgrim here, coming at you with the second video in our Platinum Trophy Guide for Dolmen. In the first video, we go to the tutorial area and fight the first boss of the game. I also go over some of the trophies that you get along the way. Now, one trophy I forgot to mention and talk about was the Veteran of the Xena Wars trophy. You might get that along the way. That is for just defeating a tougher enemy. It could be one of the many enemies that you'll fight. Now, after beating the boss, one thing I highly recommend doing is, depending on what you want to go for, of course, but I would recommend at least making the fire scrap sword. Now, if you want to buff the fire or physical, whatever you want to do for that, by all means, apply whatever buffs you want. But basically, I would recommend crafting the fire scrap sword, and then when you get the chance, also crafting the acid zone pistol. I would also recommend just crafting the fire zone pistol, just because it'll make sense in the long run. So once you do that, for the most part, you should now have a pretty decent set of weapons. Also, I guess if you really want to craft an acid zone axe, just because you want to make sure you have all of your elemental types ready to fight whatever creatures may come ahead. So we're now going to actually teleport back to the first boss, and I will discuss the next two trophies that you can earn. Alright, so back at the first boss. Now, as you've been progressing through the game, you should be collecting Dolmen fragments. They're the red little crystals. You'll see them in the top right corner. I have 8 in total. So the next two trophies that you can get are going to be related to one, first respawning a boss and killing them. Pretty easy. If you are able to easily defeat the first boss, then it shouldn't be an issue. So what you're going to do is simply just respawn them. This will simply cost 3 Dolmen fragments. So you only need 6 in total, and the next trophy will come to just crafting a weapon from that boss. That will get you the next trophy. So I'm going to skip doing that, of course, but basically I am going to do it, and I am going to craft the, I believe it's a pair of like twin blades that you make from this. As you can see, for successfully doing this, you will get the item that you can see for the bounty. Now, you can fail this and you can die, and that will result in losing the 3 Dolmen fragments, so do be careful about that. But if you know how to fight the first boss very effectively, then it shouldn't be a problem at all. But I am going to continue from here with the continuation of where to go after your first boss. So once you are done with that boss grind and have netted yourself 2 more trophies, you can follow this path, and it will lead back to this main area here. You can of course just run past the enemy and come down here and follow the main path all the way back up and around. As you can see, we can just run past most of the enemies and be just fine. Don't worry about having to actually deal with the enemies. Just simply run back to the second little save point right here. Now from here you can now go through the wall. Now, I will mention one thing though, and that is I forgot a gold object over here, so I'm going to quickly show you guys that. Luckily, there's only one enemy in the path. Right there. But basically, if you come down right here, you can drop down, and then as you'll see, you can find this gold object right here, as well as the gold object on the other side of the web. But now we're going to continue on to the next area. Alright, so before heading to the next area, what I highly recommend doing is swapping over to any flame-related gear that you might have. So a flame weapon and pistol are going to be key, but from here you can head through this door and head to the next area of the game. As always, once you are in the new area, I'm going to show you guys basically how I progressed through it. All the enemies are already dead, of course, but basically you'll have one enemy who'll be right here. You can lure over to this corner. Now the reason why I recommend crafting this fire, I guess, scrap sword or whatever it is its R2 or heavy attack is incredibly fast and does good damage. It is a good combo. So from there you'll also have another enemy run around this corner right here, and he is also susceptible to fire. Now from here there are going to be a bunch of enemies who are up on top of this little area right here. You can actually shoot them all down, but before doing that, take out the guy who's closest to you right here, lure him in, and using fire attacks should be key. They are, most of the enemies of this area are the ones that I mentioned is very tough in the previous area, so do keep that in mind. But if you're wanting a challenge, what you can do is you can actually just come in right here, and then they will all just drop down and surround you. The first time it happened to me, it was a nightmare. Literally scared the crap out of me, as I was just thinking I was going in to fight one guy. But anyways, coming up here onto this upper rafter, if we follow this main path, just sticking on top and following it all the way back. Of course, there's also going to be another set of enemies on this next like upper area, so do keep that in mind. But if we come all the way back into this area here, we will find the next beacon that you can activate. Grab some items. Then from here, we can head down right here, grab a energy battery, which is pretty nice. Now there's not really much in this back area. Now this area over here will lead actually back to the first area. You can risk taking fire damage to grab the breakables in that room, or you can just come back and be on our way. There is a tough enemy that you can fight down in this lower area here. But now we can actually head back to the main area. Or so I thought. I was going the wrong direction. Anyways. So from here, we can follow this path around and back up. Like I said, all of the enemies in this area pardon me, are going to be weak to fire, so keep that in mind. Most of them you can probably take out fairly easily with fire, or at least weaken them a lot. Do be careful though, as the ranged guys will put up a shield that will sometimes deflect your bullets back at you. But from here we can now head back this way to the main area of this new area. Now over here I will recommend right here switching to corrosive weapons, as the 3 enemies in this area here to the left are weak to corrosive or acid damage. You can find some cryogenic parts that are rare. Now coming into this area here, you will have your next beacon right here. You'll have a bunch of these boxes and things to break. Hopefully you get some good parts. Hopefully I get some good parts. Not looking that great, that we take what we can get. So the first thing you're going to want to do when you come into this room is come and activate this device right here in the middle, and then you'll come into this room right here, and as you'll see, the giant sphere is going to be a key factor of the next boss fight. So basically how it works is when you're in the sphere, you move slower and it drains your energy. Not your stamina, but your energy. So from here, in that area, there was a device at the back that you activate, and this will unlock the door right here. Now before doing that, I would highly recommend resting up and getting ready for the boss fight. It is a 2-phase boss, so do be prepared for that, but there is downtime between the first boss and the second boss. Alright, so once you're ready, you basically just want to have a fire weapon or ice weapon, whichever one will work for you. But coming in here, you will have the boss. Now one thing I will note is that the spears are actually very crucial to this first fight. As you'll see, he will float at you. So basically what you want to do to make this a whole lot easier is you'll want to lure him into these spears here. And what you'll see will happen when he goes into them is he will fall down on his knees. As you'll see, like so. I recommend just doing 3 attacks if you can. This will ensure that you take the least amount of damage that you can, or you can just kind of get backed into a corner. Do note, if you're trying to look for points to use batteries, you can use the structure in the area. Now, whenever it comes to making sure that this goes well, make sure that you are just luring him into the as easily as you can, and as you'll see, phase 1 is done. Now, one thing I highly recommend is before heading to phase 2, swapping to acid. This will be a key factor here. So phase 2 is down below. So if you come over here, you'll fight the second boss. These will both count as one boss, so do keep that in mind. Basically, he is very weak to acid. As you'll see. All you're trying to do is just bait him into attacking. There will eventually be a point where he actually will fall down like so. But he is pretty easy compared to the first one. You just need to stay at range. The acid actually does a decent amount of damage to him. If you're really wanting to speed up the process, you can, of course,
these things didn't arrive here by accident.
As you'll see, pretty
They're a reconnaissance
easily,
team.
that will get you the ancient twins boss.
Whoever created them, they incorporated their technology. Analysis
You'll
of the
have a
sample
bunch
should
of
reveal more
boxes that
about
you
them.
can break in this area. And from here, if you come to the back of this room over here, this will lead to the next area. Of course, I highly recommend going through and getting all the boxes, of course. I will recommend either going back to fire or ice, a mixture of either, whichever one will work for you. But from here, you can come down here. There's a couple of objects and things in this area. As you'll see. But as you can see, going through, there's some objects and things in these boxes and containers. Like I said, hopefully you guys get some good drops compared to what I'm getting. Or at least you are getting drops, I will say. But then you'll have this room. This basically just moves back to the other room. As you'll see right here. Of course, you'll need to open that door. As you'll see right here. Not sure why they have it like that, but oh well. Now this will lead you to the next area, so yeah. So once in the next area, as you'll probably notice, there is this red glowing orb that you'll need to go through. No matter what you do, it will take some of your HP, so do keep that in mind. And then you will also have this new enemy type. They go down fairly easily, of course. But now we'll be entering the electrostatic river. So, like always, hopefully you guys get some pretty good drops in the new area here. Like always, I've gone through and fought and defeated all of the enemies in the area at least. So, like before, you're going to want to just switch back to fire, as that will deal pretty much most of the damage. So in this room here, you'll have more containers that you can loot. And then as well, if you come back here, you have your next beacon. Nothing else. And then following this path out here, we can grab our next 2 items and then be on our way. There's nothing else really down below, so you just have these 2 purple items to grab. A lot of running. But more materials for crafting. Now, if you happen to have enough Dolmen fragments, you can always go back and farm that last boss if you're feeling comfortable with it. Hopefully I made it look a lot easier than the amount of times that I had to test and figure out what worked. I also ended up watching a speedrun of Dolmen, done in 40-something minutes. A little crazy. But in here, if you come over here to this left door first, you can find Janice, or I'm sorry, Larissa, the 3rd driller that you'll find in the game. This will now let you make the driller claws. Now, if you take this door back, this will actually lead to the tutorial area and that little cave that had the 2 egg sacs and the alien on the roof near the start. Now, from here, you'll have this little acid lake area with a bunch of those death balls. So you need to activate these pipes in order to progress. So the first thing that you'll have to do, of course, is follow this around. You'll need to, if you're feeling a little comfortable, you can show right or a little bit more forward. What you'll want to do is come up here, come to this right path. You'll have these that you'll need to wait for. You can always roll past them, of course. But then you'll have this path over here. Do be careful of falling down or taking excessive damage from the spears, I guess is like the best term that you could give to them. Now if we follow this blue one up and over, you'll get this next path or next pipe unlocked. We will wait for the spear to come back just so we can save on energy. That way we don't end up dying. There we go. So now if we come over here, we can grab the next one as well. Now if you want to, you can run back. If you want to explore this area and grab the items, by all means you can. Don't know what that guy was thinking, but that is perfectly fine. Like I said, if you want to go and explore that area, you can. From the looks of things, it's just a bunch of white items, nothing too crazy. But from here, we can now head back the way we came. Being careful not to take a bunch of damage from the balls. And then one last time, you'll have to run through this area here. You need to be careful of the red spear. And then you'll be in the next area. Not sure why he wasn't attacking, but alright. But from here we can now head to the next area, the Queen's Domain. So once you guys are here in the Queen's Domain, I highly recommend switching to acid damage as it is most effective against the enemies in this area. But coming up to this area here, you will have a left or right path. The left path is probably the preferred to quickly gather some things. If you come around here, you can find this, and then quickly roll down over here, or take the safer path over here. But if you come back here to the side area, you could find the 4th driller. Now you can make the Druluka pistol. From here we can now follow the actual path back onto the main path. Pretty straightforward though, for the most part. Coming down the steps, you can then keep going down to the right. Grab some rare materials. Another box to break. And then coming to the other side of the stairs here, you'll have this opening to follow. Like I said, most of the enemies in this area are weak to acid damage. So from here, what you're going to want to do is turn around and come down these stairs and follow this path all the way down, and you'll find some materials and your next beacon. Now what I'm actually going to do is show you guys this area up ahead real quick, just so you can see the some of the stuff I'm wanting to talk about. But the main path that you're going to run to the next boss, didn't mean to do that, but if you also come over here and come around to the elevator, you'll find some boxes over here you can break for more materials. Now from here, if you actually run up this little secret area up here, this will be the main path that you run to the boss. Now I'm not sure if there's anything of importance over here off to the sides. It doesn't really look like it. But that main path is going to be where we're going to go. So I'm going to come back here once I'm full health, and I'll show you the next boss. Alright, so from here, like I said, you'll follow this path up, and this will basically lead you all the way up to the boss. It's just a secondary path to take. If you want to, you can take the elevator, but I just like taking this path because as well as grabbing this item right here, you can come over here and roll down. Now I will recommend swapping your weapon back to a fire weapon.
Concentration of Dolmen ahead. Wait, it can't be. This creature seems to have strong interaction with the Dolmen, only much more powerful. If the beasts you've faced so far were pawns, this is certainly the queen.
Should I look for other sources of Dolmen?
There is no time. We need that crystal.
Roger that.
Now this boss run is a bit annoying because there are a couple of attacks that this boss has that can be a bit difficult. So do keep that in mind. Now once again, make sure you're all ready to go before the fight begins. Now if you need to go back and craft any items, I would highly recommend that, or leveling up or spending your points on whatever you might need. But once you're ready to go, you'll walk in and have your cutscene. This will be the Queen Caniptei. So starting off, you'll have these. There's a random assortment of tentacles from 3 to 5 that will spawn in. After some downtime, just start peppering her with some acid bullets. During this time, she will stomp 2 times, and then this will create one of 2 things. This giant one-hit attack that if you get caught in will instantly kill you. There will be a random part of the floor in this arena that will be safe from damage, as you'll see. It could be random. But in between that, you're basically just letting your refill. The next attack can be probably the next one that's going to happen, and that's the pillar. Nope. That's quite surprising. But after so many attacks, the tentacles will come back up. Maybe this is the attack. Yes, it is. This is the other attack that you're going to be on the lookout for. Basically, you're going to want to just run around until the tentacles start getting faster. Then what you're going to want to do is simply just sprint, and you should be able to outrun them once they start getting faster. And back to that. Basically, you're just trying to go until you get to a certain health point or percentage. But it's pretty straightforward and easy. As you see, after a certain point, tentacles will come back. Now, once you have actually done a decent amount of damage, you can then stand close to her face, and that will let you know that you are in the right spot. Now we're basically just waiting for some of these easier attacks to abuse, as you'll see. Do be careful, there is an attack that can one-shot you. Once you reach a certain phase though, they will do the ground attack again. Do be careful if you get hit out into the area. Basically standing in front and going for a dodge into the attack is best here. And then retreating will be key. But just like that, you will then have defeated the Queen, and that will be the end of Act 1. Alright, but that is going to do it for the second video in the Platinum Trophy Guide for Dolmen. Hopefully my tips and strategies for fighting and defeating the bosses does come in handy, as well as navigating through the areas as easily as possible, pointing out all the materials you can gather and what is best to fight and defeat most of the enemies in the area. Up until now I think I've been rocking the yeah, I've been rocking the base armor set, so that is a big goof on my part, as I've been taking way more damage than I probably should have needed to. But as always, I do hope that these videos and guides are helpful, and as always, I will see you all in the next video. Mr. Pilgrim, out.